I wrote this little essay because in 2025 we saw revolutions and revolutionary attempts spanning the whole world, and the organic crisis in capitalism has been pushing more and more people towards more and more radical solutions. And one of the places these people found said solutions was on YouTube and on the internet in general. The genocide in Palestine has been continuing, and because of it, more people have sought a sound anti imperialist path to end it. And that, as well, has been sought on YouTube. Baden Panada finds himself at the crossroads of these forces in radicalization. From that position, in the last year especially, he has been pushing leftist discourse online to be more radical and, in general, to improve. I believe the work he produces varies from very profoundly important videos for his mostly first world audience to slop meant to signal boost his important work. But despite the truly soul crushing environment in which he has built his audience, and the endless pointless arguments, he has remained a solid, principled comrade that seems honest in his search of the most useful use of his platform. In that context, I want to attempt to push him a bit closer to the best possible line, in my opinion, by arguing against some of his positions. So, what lines does he defend, and where does he falter, in my opinion? So, there's many points where I'd argue he doesn't have a perfect position, but we all do, of course. Like, we don't have infinite knowledge, and that's okay. But I want to zoom in on, I think, one of the most important points, right? One of the most important positions he has. The method he argues for in anti-imperialist internationalism. His main positions rely on an anti-imperialism that bases itself on what I'd call classical Maoist understandings of what the global imperialist order is and how it functions, mixed with some direct action principles. He believes and defends that for the workers of the imperial core to truly effect change and help their Palestinian, Sudanese, or Congolese brothers and sisters, they need to accept to work against their own interests, and that their actions, such as blockading arms dealers and pressuring their bourgeois governments, are some of the best tools these workers have. He has even gone as far as to attack Western labor organizations as imperialist, founded on the correct point that a great majority of them are very vocally not anti-imperialist. And he argues that the workers of the imperial core can afford their relative comfort due to the wealth extracted from the victims of their bourgeoisie's imperialism. So, how does this hold up to scrutiny? And what can be learned if we deconstruct this position, right? A great issue in Baden Panada's work, in my opinion, throughout the Israeli genocide in Palestine, is seemingly a lack of path beyond the immediate direct action of the proletariat. He argues for immediate action that can be effective, yes, but he doesn't give his audience a clear understanding on how these first steps can and must lead into long-term combative traditions to succeed. For example, his video on Western labor organizations is extremely well argued at face value. It is true, labor organizations don't seem to be taking anti-imperialist action seriously in the imperial core. That is a true diagnosis of a sick labor movement, since the bases of these organizations are generally overwhelmingly, at least pro-Palestine or even anti-imperialist. Take Italy, for example. The fight for Palestinian liberation through strikes and even a general strike across the country happened despite the unions, not through them. But most of the people in the streets were unionized. So how does this fit? Well, a thorough look at the machinery of these organizations finds that their leadership has developed into a privileged subclass whose interests align with that of a petty bourgeois store owner whose business will get interrupted by a strike. Stability allows them to keep their cushy jobs, and taking on the bourgeoisie means they risk something. They have a position, they have something they are risking. The workers have nothing to lose but their chains. That is a very historical quote. That's true still to this day. They have nothing to lose but their chains and that of their brothers and sisters. But the union leadership have a comfortable life to lose. They stand in their interests opposed to revolutionary change, to uncertainty. What would be ideal for them, and I think they are honest in this, is a reformist approach. A slow, gradual change where they get to keep their position throughout the whole movement, and they never get at risk of being in an illegal position, as they might if there is true revolutionary fighting that occurs. I want to demonstrate in this essay how Bad Empanada's analysis could prove much better and more useful if he put class in a higher regard in his analysis of the interests of the people he speaks about. Because with this newfound point of understanding we just reached, we can easily develop a much clearer path of action to take for workers in the First World. Either dislodge the traitorous labor leadership and build a labor movement which operates in all of the workers of the world's interests as they are aligned in the long term, or build a new mass organizations from scratch, free from the bourgeois ideas of nationalism and social peace, as Lenin argued for. Work together on a truly combative line and towards revolutionary change. After all, if the workers in the West and the world had opposing interests, then it wouldn't be possible to best satisfy all their interests through revolutionary change. But that can be shown to be untrue. When the dockers of Genoa struck out against shipments to Israel, they weren't just acting in the interests of the Palestinian workers and people, but also their own. Through that strike, they learned important lessons on the methods of repression of their bourgeoisie, and they learned they cannot trust their traditional unions to lead the fights they want to take on. In the long term, those important lessons are incredibly beneficial for them, just like the lesson of any strike for the Palestine would be for any worker throughout the world. It is in the class war that a lot of workers learn a lot of these lessons. It's through practice as well that workers develop class consciousness. In fighting for their brothers and sisters across the world, workers learn how to fight for themselves as well. Internationalism is not a choice the workers can make or not. It's the logical path for the workers to reach their goals and interests. Blocking an arms dealer's shipment to Israel is an incredible deed regardless of how it's accomplished, no doubt. But managing that deed through the assertion of the workers' internationalist class interests is an even stronger progress for the cause of Palestinians and all workers across the world. Because imperialist war may relatively benefit the workers of imperialist nations in the very narrow sense that a richer bourgeoisie is more likely to give back some crumbs to its workers in the forms of treats. But it's also directly against the interest of the workers, because any lesson in fighting abroad that the bourgeoisie learns will be used against their local workers at any point where they attempt to fight the class war. And while the benefits of imperialism are privatized to the shareholders of arms dealers and war profiteers, its costs are socialized to the workers victim of imperialism and the workers back home who are sent as cannon fodder, whose social programs are cut to fund the military. As such, Bad Empanada's imperfect line leads him to advocate for ineffective tactics that may help Palestinian liberation in the immediate, but can't lead to the true liberation of the Palestinian workers or the workers of the world, not on their own at least. And that's a shame. I hope this tiny essay can bolster some discussion, and I hope it can help bring a truly revolutionary internationalist line to the forefront of online discussion on Palestine. The only way forward is in the revolutionary fight against our war profiteers, warmongers, and capitalists at home. Because if the bombed factories are not just occupied, but repurposed, books, not bombs, Israel can be all the same bourgeois genocidal state, it will not be able to continue genociding our Palestinian brothers and sisters for long, for an internationalist working class position in online discourse and real-life organizing. I'd finish by saying that if you agreed with the contents of this video and want to discuss them further, feel free to contact me or any of my comrades of the Revolutionary Communist International. This is not an official video of the International, but I know my comrades, they're all pretty based and could discuss this with you as well. But don't forget, the fight for socialism over Barbary has already started, and it's not just online. It's out there, in the streets, in the workplaces, in the unions, and everywhere else the bourgeoisie has extended its dirty little tentacles. Organize, act, fight, and we will come out on top as the workers of the world.